The sun hung low over Asheville, casting a warm glow on the bustling streets filled with the sounds of laughter and the smell of kettle corn. I wandered through the arts festival, my heart heavy with an emptiness I could no longer ignore. My husband, Mark, had been consumed by work lately, leaving me to navigate the vibrant chaos alone. I often felt like a ghost in our home, drifting from room to room without purpose, while he buried himself in spreadsheets and deadlines. Today was supposed to be different. The festival promised a reprieve from my solitude, artisans showcasing their crafts, musicians filling the air with melodies that tugged at my heartstrings. Yet, as I strolled past colorful booths displaying handmade jewelry and paintings, I remained untouched by the spirit of celebration around me. My mind wandered back to our life together, where laughter once echoed through our halls. Now there was only silence. I paused in front of a booth showcasing local pottery. The intricate designs reminded me of summer days spent with my grandfather in his workshop, where he taught me how to mold clay into beautiful shapes. Those memories felt distant now, like faded photographs tucked away in an old album. I missed him dearly, his wisdom and warmth filled gaps I now felt too keenly. As if summoned by my thoughts, there he was. My grandfather stood a few feet away, admiring a piece crafted by a local artist. He looked older than I remembered but still carried that familiar spark in his eyes. My heart raced as I stepped closer, unsure if this encounter was a blessing or a curse. "Grandpa?" His head turned sharply at the sound of my voice, surprise washing over his features before transforming into a welcoming smile. "Is that you, dear? It's been ages." He enveloped me in an embrace that felt both comforting and unsettling. I hadn't expected to see him here today, it stirred something deep within me. "I just needed some air," I admitted softly as we pulled apart. "Mark is busy with work." He nodded knowingly, his gaze drifting toward the crowd around us. Sometimes it's easy to lose ourselves in all that noise. His words resonated with me more than they should have. We began to wander together through the festival grounds, sharing small talk about art and family while skirting around the deeper truths lingering between us. The vibrant colors and sounds faded into background noise as our conversation deepened, a connection reigniting after years apart. "Remember when we used to make those birdhouses together?" he asked suddenly, his eyes twinkling with nostalgia. A smile crept onto my face as memories flooded back, long afternoons spent crafting creations that hung proudly in his backyard. "I remember you teaching me how to paint them bright colors," I replied. "Yes. You always had such an eye for detail." He chuckled softly before growing serious again. "Life has its way of pulling us in different directions." I glanced away from him for a moment, his words struck too close to home. The chasm between Mark and me widened daily while my grandfather stood as an anchor from a time when life seemed simpler and more joyful. "Things have changed," I said quietly. "They often do," he replied gently but firmly. Our conversation drifted toward shared experiences, the joys and sorrows we'd encountered over the years, and for a brief moment, it felt as if we were two souls navigating similar storms rather than generations apart. Then came an unexpected twist. He took my hand as we walked past an artist painting live on canvas, a simple gesture that sent electricity coursing through me. Our fingers intertwined naturally as if they belonged there all along. It felt right yet so wrong at once. "What's this?" he asked teasingly when he noticed my hesitation. "Just reminiscing," I stammered out awkwardly. His grip tightened slightly before releasing me again. It was both freeing and suffocating all at once. As we approached another booth filled with colorful paintings depicting scenes of nature, mountains rising majestically against clear blue skies, I caught sight of our reflections in the glass display case nearby, two people connected by history yet divided by circumstance. In that moment of clarity amidst swirling emotions came another realization. This encounter left me questioning everything about myself, the choices made over years spent building a life with Mark versus rekindling something long dormant with my grandfather. Life is complicated, he mused quietly beside me after noticing my distraction. Yes, I whispered back without looking at him directly. Fear gripped my heart like vice-like fingers squeezing tighter with each passing second. The festival continued around us, a cacophony of laughter mixed with music, but all I could hear was the pounding of my own heart echoing doubts within its rhythm. Was this fleeting moment worth risking everything? Before long, we found ourselves standing near one last booth selling handcrafted jewelry, a delicate silver bracelet catching my eye amidst others glimmering under sunlight filtering through trees above us. "I think you'd look beautiful wearing this," he said softly while gesturing toward it, a simple compliment laden with unspoken implications hanging heavily between us now more than ever before. "I can't." The words slipped out almost involuntarily as reality crashed back down upon me like waves crashing against rocks along coastal shores, harder each time until they receded into familiar patterns once again leaving only confusion behind them instead clarity sought after desperately inside myself for far too long already now. Before any further thoughts could escape or take root within either one of us, an abrupt commotion erupted nearby drawing attention away from our intimate exchange momentarily. It seemed someone had spilled their drink all over another patron causing laughter mixed alongside exclamations echoing across open space surrounding us both still somehow tethered together despite chaos unfolding beyond sightlines separating souls caught between longing desires clashing against societal norms dictating boundaries drawn long ago. And then came another twist. My gaze flickered back toward him just in time to catch sight of Mark approaching from behind seemingly oblivious yet somehow aware enough not only presence looming overhead casting shadows across ground below but also aware enough perhaps sensing something amiss. Between two figures standing close together sharing secrets unspoken beneath surface calmness masking turmoil brewing just beneath skin's surface threatening eruption any moment now. My breath caught painfully within throat constricting tightly around words left unvoiced trapped forevermore inside tangled web spun intricately woven throughout years gone past leading straight into present day unfolding right before eyes wide open unable shut tight against reality crashing down upon them relentlessly forcing confrontation inevitable sooner rather than later. The air between us thickened, a palpable tension that seemed to hum with unspoken words. I glanced at my grandfather, his familiar features now tinged with something deeper, something that stirred emotions I had long buried beneath the weight of my marriage. We stood in the shadow of the festival's vibrant chaos, yet all I could hear was the quiet thrum of my heart echoing in my ears. "Do you remember the summers by the lake?" he asked, his voice low and steady, cutting through the noise around us. The question hung there, inviting me to step back into a time when innocence reigned and life felt uncomplicated. "Yes," I murmured, recalling sun-drenched days spent fishing and laughing. Those memories felt like fragments of a dream, beautiful yet distant. But now, standing here with him, they flickered to life again, igniting a warmth that contrasted sharply with the chill creeping into my marriage. "I often think about those days," he continued, his gaze unwavering. "They were special." A knot formed in my stomach as I searched his eyes for clarity. What did this mean? Nostalgia was one thing. This felt different, charged with an energy that made me question everything I thought I knew about him and myself. "I miss them too," I said quietly. My voice trembled slightly as if acknowledging a truth I wasn't ready to confront. The weight of our shared past pressed down on me like a heavy cloak. He stepped closer, his presence enveloping me in comfort yet stirring an unsettling thrill within. "Life has its way of pulling us apart," he said softly. "But sometimes we need to find our way back." His words hung in the air between us like a promise, or perhaps a dare. The world around us faded into insignificance as I found myself lost in his gaze, feeling as if we were suspended in time. Then it happened, a moment so fleeting yet infinitely profound. In an instant, our lips met. We kissed. It was soft at first, tentative as if testing the waters of forbidden territory. But then it deepened unexpectedly into something more urgent, more alive than anything I had felt in years. My heart raced as guilt washed over me like ice water. How could this be happening? This was my grandfather, the man who had always been there for me when others weren't. Yet here we were crossing lines that should never have been approached. We pulled away abruptly, both startled by what had just transpired. The laughter from festival-goers echoed around us but felt miles away, an alien sound amidst our newly charged silence. What have we done? I whispered, panic rising within me like bile. He took a step back but didn't break eye contact. Sometimes we need to embrace what we feel, he replied gently but firmly. I shook my head, grappling with conflicting emotions swirling inside me like a tempest, a mix of longing and fear battling for dominance within my heart. But it's wrong, I protested weakly. Is it? He countered softly, tilting his head slightly as if challenging me to reconsider my perspective on right and wrong. The festival continued around us. Musicians strummed their guitars while children darted past chasing colorful balloons. Yet all I could focus on was the chaos within myself, the whirlwind of desire battling against societal expectations and familial ties that bound us together yet threatened to suffocate any sense of freedom or joy. I can't do this, I finally said breathlessly, turning away from him as shame flooded through my veins like poison. Maybe you should think about what you truly want, he said quietly as he stepped back further into the crowd, a figure retreating into shadows while leaving behind echoes of uncertainty and yearning. I stood there for what felt like an eternity amidst laughter and chatter that seemed foreign now, a stark reminder of how disconnected I truly was from everyone around me, including myself. Days passed since that fateful kiss, each one stretching out endlessly under the weight of unacknowledged feelings threatening to consume me whole. My husband continued his routine oblivious to the storm brewing beneath our roof while I wore a mask of normalcy crafted carefully over years spent suppressing desires deemed unacceptable by society's standards. Yet every time Mark reached for my hand or attempted conversation during dinner, his voice filled with warmth, I found myself drifting further away emotionally even while physically present beside him at our dining table adorned with mundane dishes prepared without thought or love anymore. One afternoon after another lengthy day spent avoiding thoughts of what had transpired between Grandpa and me, I found myself wandering aimlessly through Asheville's arts district seeking solace among vibrant colors splashed across gallery walls hoping perhaps art might help fill voids left unaddressed too long ago. As I strolled past one particular gallery showcasing local artists' work, my eyes caught sight of an old friend from high school milling about near an open window displaying intricate pottery pieces gleaming under sunlight filtering through glass panes above her head casting playful shadows across her face. A face that once held so much promise before life took its toll on each one of us differently. "Isn't it beautiful?" she exclaimed suddenly catching sight of me watching her intently lost in reverie momentarily forgetting everything else surrounding us including lingering thoughts concerning forbidden kisses exchanged only days prior. "Yes," I replied hesitantly forcing a smile despite turmoil churning inside like boiling water threatening eruption at any moment now. "I've missed you," she added brightly stepping closer breaking barriers built over years apart. The enthusiasm radiating off her infectious enough momentarily distract from darker thoughts lurking just beneath surface waiting patiently for opportunity strike again. "We should catch up sometime," she suggested enthusiastically almost oblivious to tension hanging between two women reunited after years apart filled with memories both cherished yet painful alike. "Definitely," came out before realization hit hard reminding how fragile connections could be, especially when weighed down by secrets threatening unravel everything built upon trust forged throughout lifetimes shared together. As we exchanged numbers promising future conversations filled laughter, I couldn't shake feeling something ominous loomed just beyond horizon waiting patiently for chance reveal itself exposing truths hidden beneath layers carefully crafted facades worn daily. Returning home later that evening, I found Mark engrossed in work, once again oblivious yet somehow aware enough, not only presence looming overhead casting shadows across ground below, but also aware enough, perhaps sensing something amiss, between two figures standing close together sharing secrets. Unspoken beneath surface, calmness masking turmoil brewing just beneath skin's surface, threatening eruption any moment now. And then came another twist. My gaze flickered back toward him just in time to catch sight of Mark approaching from behind, seemingly oblivious yet somehow aware enough, not only presence looming overhead casting shadows across ground below, but also aware enough, perhaps sensing something amiss. Between two figures standing close together sharing secrets, unspoken beneath surface, calmness masking turmoil brewing just beneath skin's surface, threatening eruption any moment now. The days drifted into a blur, each one marked by the quiet tension that had settled over my life. I found myself caught in a web of secrecy, the thrill of my connection with him both intoxicating and terrifying. The weight of my choices pressed down on me, a constant reminder of the lines I was crossing. I would often steal moments to reflect on the absurdity of it all, how I had come to find solace in a relationship that society deemed wrong. One afternoon, while wandering through the Asheville Arts District, I stumbled upon an old friend, Clara. We hadn't seen each other in years, and her presence felt both comforting and unsettling. Her eyes sparkled with curiosity as she engaged me in conversation about my life, my marriage, and the art scene that surrounded us. "Have you ever thought about how easy it is to get lost?" Clara asked, her tone light yet probing. "Sometimes we bury ourselves in routines so deep that we forget who we are." I nodded absently, feeling the truth of her words resonate within me. My thoughts flickered back to my grandfather and the moments we shared, how he understood me in ways Mark never could. The guilt stirred again as Clara continued to speak. "Life's too short for regrets," she said with a knowing smile. "You have to chase what makes you happy." Our conversation drifted toward memories of our youth, laughter spilling over like wine from an overflowing glass. But beneath the surface, I felt an undercurrent of unease, an awareness that Clara's probing might lead her to question more than just my artistic pursuits. As we parted ways, I glanced back at her retreating figure and felt a pang of anxiety twist in my stomach. What if she sensed something? What if she saw through the facade I had constructed? That evening, I found myself standing at the window staring out into the night. The moon hung low in the sky like a watchful eye, casting shadows across our quiet neighborhood. Mark was still working late, his laptop illuminated his face with a harsh glow as he tapped away at keys with practiced precision. I couldn't shake off the feeling that something was shifting within me, a growing desire for clarity amidst chaos. My thoughts turned back to my grandfather and our last encounter, a moment suspended in time when our lips met under the guise of nostalgia. The memory lingered like perfume on my skin, sweet yet suffocating. Days passed slowly until another weekend arrived, a time when Mark often retreated into his work or golf outings with friends. That Saturday morning found me restless and yearning for connection beyond what was available within these walls. I took a drive out to a local craft brewery nestled among rolling hills just outside Asheville, a place known for its artisanal beers and vibrant atmosphere filled with laughter and chatter. As I sipped on a pale ale surrounded by strangers enjoying life's simple pleasures, I felt an ache for something deeper. In that moment of solitude among crowds, an unexpected message from my grandfather appeared on my phone, a simple invitation to meet at our usual spot near the riverbank later that afternoon. My heart raced at the thought, anticipation mingled with trepidation as I contemplated what this encounter might hold. Arriving at our meeting place felt surreal. Nature enveloped us in its embrace as sunlight filtered through leaves casting dappled patterns on the ground below. He stood there waiting for me, his familiar figure instantly grounding amidst uncertainty swirling around us both. "I've missed you," he said softly as we exchanged greetings, a warmth radiating between us like firelight drawing two souls together against encroaching darkness. We walked alongside the riverbank sharing stories from our lives since we last met, the mundane details blending into something far more significant as laughter echoed against water's surface, reflecting both joy and sorrow intertwined within each tale told. Then came another moment suspended in time. Our hands brushed against one another before intertwining completely without hesitation or fear lingering between us anymore. An electric charge igniting unspoken desires buried beneath layers of guilt and societal expectations. Our lips met once again. This time it felt different, less nostalgic than before but raw with urgency fueled by everything unsaid until now. The world around us faded away, leaving only this connection pulsing between breaths shared together under open skies where nothing else mattered except this fleeting intimacy found only here beneath fading light. But then reality crashed back. The sound of footsteps approaching pulled us from our reverie like ice water splashed against warm skin-shattering illusions built so carefully over time. A couple strolled past us hand in hand, oblivious to what they'd just witnessed, their laughter ringing out like bells announcing joy while simultaneously reminding me how far removed we were from such normalcy, now tainted by secrets hidden deep within, shadows cast upon lives lived apart yet intertwined nonetheless. "What are we doing?" I whispered, suddenly overwhelmed by fear creeping into every crevice previously filled only with warmth shared moments before. I could feel doubt gnawing at edges left unexamined until now, threatening everything fragile built between us, so carefully crafted over stolen glances exchanged behind closed doors. His gaze softened but remained steady. "We're seeking understanding," he replied simply yet profoundly, as if those words could somehow absolve all transgressions committed thus far under watchful eyes judging silently from afar. But even as his words hung heavy between us like thick fog rolling across riverbanks obscuring clarity needed moving forward, I couldn't shake off feeling trapped, caught between two worlds neither offering solace nor escape anymore. And then came another twist. Mark unexpectedly pulled up just downriver where he must have parked after deciding against his original plans earlier that day. His silhouette framed against fading light became unmistakable even from afar, revealing everything hidden away, now exposed under scrutiny, no longer able to hide behind facades built so carefully over years spent together. Panic surged through me. Questions raced through mind faster than heart could keep pace. What would happen next? Would he see us standing there together? Would everything unravel before me, leaving only shards behind scattered across ground once firmly planted beneath feet now trembling uncertainly? As if sensing impending doom looming closer than ever before, I took one last look into his eyes, searching desperately for reassurance, hoping somehow things might remain unchanged despite chaos threatening everything around us. But reality offered no such comfort, instead leaving behind echoes haunting every breath taken thereafter. The future hung precariously balanced, teetering on edge, ready to plunge headfirst into unknown depths below where consequences awaited those daring enough venture forth amidst shadows cast long ago. The tension in the air was palpable as I sat across from him, the weight of our secret pressing down like a heavy blanket. Each glance exchanged felt like a silent acknowledgement of the storm brewing just beneath the surface. We had spent countless hours together, yet now every moment felt charged with unspoken fears and desires. The thrill of our clandestine meetings had morphed into a suffocating anxiety that threatened to consume me whole. I could hear my heart pounding in my ears as I contemplated what lay ahead. The quiet house around us held its breath, unaware of the turmoil unfolding within its walls. My husband was busy with work, lost in his own world, a world where I no longer seemed to exist. It was easy to slip away into this other life with my grandfather, but the consequences loomed large, casting shadows over our stolen moments. "Do you think we're being foolish?" I finally broke the silence, my voice barely above a whisper. He looked at me, his eyes reflecting both concern and understanding. "Foolishness is subjective," he replied softly. "What matters is how we feel." His words hung between us like an unbreakable thread, binding us closer even as they highlighted the chasm we were navigating. The thrill of our connection was intoxicating, yet each interaction felt like walking a tightrope over an abyss. I longed for clarity but feared what that clarity might reveal. That evening, we decided to meet at a local craft brewery, a cozy spot tucked away from prying eyes where laughter and conversation flowed freely among patrons oblivious to our hidden truths. As I entered, the familiar scent of hops and roasted barley enveloped me like an old friend. It should have been comforting, yet it only amplified my internal conflict. Sitting at a secluded table in the corner, we shared stories and laughter that felt both genuine and forced. Every smile exchanged was tinged with an undercurrent of guilt, every joke carried the weight of secrets unspoken. In those moments, time seemed to blur around us until it didn't. Suddenly, my phone buzzed on the table, jolting me back to reality. My husband's name flashed on the screen, an unwelcome reminder of the life I was neglecting for this fleeting escape. "I should answer," I said hesitantly. "Maybe it's best if you don't," he suggested cautiously. I hesitated but ultimately chose not to pick up. Instead, I turned my attention back to him and tried to shake off the anxiety creeping in from all sides. The conversation resumed its light-hearted tone until I noticed a familiar figure entering through the door, my husband. Panic surged through me as he scanned the room casually before locking eyes with me at our table. The blood drained from my face, every instinct screamed at me to flee or hide. But there was nowhere to go, not without drawing attention. He approached us with a smile that faltered when he realized who I was with. "What are you doing here?" His tone was casual but laced with confusion. "We were just catching up," I replied too quickly, forcing a smile that felt foreign on my lips. My grandfather met his gaze calmly, but there was an intensity in his eyes, one that spoke volumes about uncharted territories we had ventured into together. "Just reminiscing about old times," he added smoothly, attempting to diffuse the tension hanging thickly in the air. My husband seemed unconvinced but nodded slowly before taking a seat next to me as if nothing were amiss. The conversation shifted awkwardly between mundane topics while beneath it all simmered an undercurrent of unresolved emotions threatening to boil over at any moment. As we left later that night, the three of us, I felt an overwhelming urge for escape wash over me, yet there was nowhere left to run or hide from this reality we had created together. My grandfather offered soft reassurances as we walked side by side while my husband chatted amiably ahead, oblivious or perhaps willfully ignorant of what lingered just beyond their shared laughter. Once home, exhaustion enveloped me like a heavy fog, a stark contrast against earlier moments filled with warmth and connection shared between two souls yearning for understanding amidst chaos surrounding them both inside and out. In those quiet hours after my husband fell asleep beside me, I found myself slipping away once more into darkness, a sanctuary where thoughts could roam free without judgment or reproach, only echoes remaining from whispered words exchanged earlier that evening haunting every corner of my mind. We spent the night together. The truth hung heavy in the air as dawn broke through thin curtains casting soft light across our bedroom walls, illuminating shadows dancing along surfaces where secrets lay buried deep within hearts longing for release from chains binding them tightly together against societal norms dictating otherwise. I awoke feeling restless, each tick of time marked by anxieties mounting steadily alongside desires left unchecked simmering beneath layers built carefully over years spent maintaining appearances while neglecting emotional truths yearning desperately for acknowledgement, even if only fleeting moments shared between two souls lost amidst life's complexities beckoning them forward towards something unknown waiting just beyond reach. Each day became increasingly complicated as fear mingled with longing, a potent cocktail swirling within me threatening intoxication should either one be allowed dominance over another completely unchecked. Weeks passed like fleeting whispers carried upon winds weaving tales untold throughout Asheville's vibrant streets filled with artistry flourishing everywhere one looked. Yet amidst beauty surrounding us lay cracks forming quietly beneath surface-level interactions masking deeper conflicts unraveling slowly day by day threatening everything once thought certain about love found outside conventional boundaries established long ago. And still, we continued meeting, driven by necessity, borne out desperation rather than pure passion alone, fueling choices made under cover of nightfall, where shadows danced freely around us, cloaking truths hidden just out sight, waiting patiently until moment arrived when everything would collide head-on, revealing consequences long avoided, lurking ever closer, waiting patiently until time deemed right. Then came that fateful afternoon when everything changed forever. The sun shone brightly overhead, casting shadows across storefronts lining streets bustling with life surrounding them. Unaware, fate awaited just around corner, ready strike without warning, leaving devastation behind in wake. As we strolled hand in hand through Asheville's arts district, lost within conversations drifting seamlessly between nostalgia and hope, suddenly caught sight reflections mirrored back towards us, captured within glass storefronts, framing lives intertwined so beautifully yet so dangerously fraught with complications lurking beneath surface, waiting patiently until moment arrived when truth would inevitably reveal itself. The moment hung between us, suspended in time as we stood before the glass reflection. I could see our intertwined hands, a stark contrast to the chaos of my thoughts. The vibrant colors of Asheville's arts district buzzed around us, but all I could focus on was the image staring back. It was a snapshot of a life I had never fully embraced, a life filled with secrets and longing. "Do you think they can see us?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. I glanced around, half expecting someone to notice the tension that crackled in the air. "No one's paying attention," I replied, though my heart raced with uncertainty. The thought of being discovered sent a chill down my spine. Our world felt so precarious. One misstep could shatter everything we had built in the shadows. As we moved away from the glass, I felt an unsettling mix of exhilaration and dread. My husband remained blissfully unaware of my emotional turmoil, lost in his work and routine. His oblivion only deepened my sense of isolation. It felt as if I were living two lives, one mundane and predictable, the other thrilling yet fraught with risk. The invitation to the family gathering loomed over me like a dark cloud. It promised laughter and warmth amidst family, but it also meant facing both men in my life, the husband who had become a stranger and the grandfather who stirred feelings I hadn't expected to feel again. Would they sense something was off? Would I be able to keep up appearances? "Are you ready for this?" he asked, searching my eyes for answers. "I have to be," I replied with forced conviction. "It's just family." But deep down, I understood that this gathering would be anything but simple. The air would be thick with unspoken words and hidden glances. It would bring together not just family ties but also the tangled threads of my heart, a heart that struggled to reconcile love with loyalty. The day arrived too quickly, filled with the sounds of laughter and clinking glasses as relatives greeted each other at my parents' countryside home. The scent of grilled meats wafted through the air, mingling with memories from childhood that rushed back unbidden. Yet beneath it all lay an undercurrent of anxiety. Every smile felt like a mask hiding deeper truths. "Where's your husband?" my mother asked as she poured me a glass of wine. "He's coming later," I said, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach my eyes. "Good," she said cheerfully. "You know how much family means to him." I nodded along while feeling an ache settle in my chest. Family meant everything to him. It had always been his priority. But what did it mean for me? Was I betraying them both by being here? The guilt weighed heavily as laughter echoed around me like distant thunder. As evening descended upon us, shadows lengthened across the yard where children played under twinkling lights strung between trees. My grandfather arrived later than expected. He seemed older than I remembered, yet still vibrant in spirit. He greeted everyone warmly before his gaze found mine across the crowded porch. "Glad you made it," he said softly as he approached me. "It's good to see you," I replied, trying to sound casual despite the fluttering in my stomach. We exchanged pleasantries while keeping our distance from prying eyes, an unspoken agreement that our connection remained hidden beneath layers of familial affection and obligation. Yet as night fell and stars began to twinkle overhead, we found ourselves drawn together once more into familiar territory, away from prying ears, an alcove just beyond sight where moonlight danced through leaves above us. "Can we talk?" he asked gently. I hesitated but nodded. We stepped away from the noise into solitude where whispers could flow freely without fear of discovery or judgment. "I've missed this," he confessed quietly, his voice barely carrying above the rustle of leaves overhead. "I have too," I admitted reluctantly as warmth spread through me at his words, a reminder of all those stolen moments shared when shadows cloaked our reality from view. But then came an unexpected twist, a voice calling out from behind us shattered our fragile bubble. "There you are. We've been looking everywhere for you." My heart sank as I turned to see my husband approaching with an expression that mixed relief and confusion on his face, a man who had spent too long buried in work now breaking through into this world where secrets thrived like weeds among flowers. "What are you two talking about?" he asked innocently enough, but there was an edge beneath his words that hinted at suspicion lurking just below surface tension, the kind that could unravel everything if pulled too tightly. "Oh, just catching up," I stammered awkwardly while forcing myself not to glance at my grandfather whose expression mirrored mine, surprise mingled with apprehension at being discovered so carelessly amidst our clandestine connection. "Well, good. Let's get back before everyone thinks we've run off." My husband laughed lightly, but there was no real humor behind it. Instead, there was urgency pushing him forward, a need for normalcy amid chaos threatening to consume us whole if left unchecked any longer. We returned together into light where laughter resumed its place again among family members unaware they stood atop fragile ground where truth lay buried beneath layers upon layers, waiting patiently until moment arrived when they'd have no choice but confront reality, head-on whether they wanted or not. As night wore on, filled with chatter and clinking glasses celebrating life togetherness, warmth surrounding us all, I couldn't shake feeling something vital shifted within me. Something irrevocable had changed forever, leaving echoes behind, reverberating throughout every corner, reminding me choices made would ripple outward, creating consequences far beyond imagination ever dared conceive possible. Then came another twist, as we gathered around fire pit watching flames flicker against darkness surrounding us. I caught sight once more through peripheral vision, reflections dancing within glass nearby, capturing fleeting moments shared between grandfather and granddaughter, forever etched into memory, now forever altered by events unfolding tonight. In that instant, clarity struck hard like lightning, illuminating shadows, revealing paths diverging ahead. Paths leading toward honesty or escape, which lay before me, demanding choice made soon, lest time slip away, leaving nothing behind except regret woven tightly into fabric existence itself. The night pressed on, thickening air, heavy laden promises, unspoken yet palpable, urging decisions formed, quickened pace, heartbeat matching rhythm pounding within chest, echoing louder, urging choosing wisely before dawn broke, casting light upon hidden truths laid bare. The family gathering loomed ahead like a storm cloud, heavy with unspoken tensions and expectations. I stood in front of the mirror, adjusting my hair for the umpteenth time. The reflection staring back at me felt foreign, a woman caught between two worlds, one filled with duty and the other shrouded in secrecy. I had avoided confronting my husband about the affair, but now, with everyone together under one roof, it was becoming increasingly difficult to keep up appearances. As we drove through the rolling hills of Asheville, I stole glances at my husband. He hummed softly to himself, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing within me. His contentment contrasted sharply with my inner turmoil, and guilt gnawed at me like an incessant itch. The laughter of children echoed from a nearby park as we passed, but all I could hear was the echo of my grandfather's voice, a reminder of what I had chosen to pursue. Upon arriving at the countryside home adorned with twinkling lights and festive decorations, I felt an overwhelming sense of dread wash over me. Family members greeted us with warm hugs and cheerful smiles, oblivious to the fracture in my heart. My husband engaged in small talk while I stood at the edge of conversations, feeling more like an outsider than ever before. "Are you all right?" he asked when he finally noticed my distant demeanor. "I'm fine," I replied too quickly, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach my eyes. The lie hung between us like a veil. As dinner approached, I found myself trapped in a whirlwind of laughter and chatter that only amplified my isolation. My grandfather arrived late but commanded attention as he always did. The warmth in his gaze made me feel seen for a fleeting moment before reality crashed back in. "Let's toast," he exclaimed as we gathered around the table laden with food. Glasses clinked together amidst laughter and well wishes for health and happiness. But as I raised my glass, all I could think about was how much had changed since our last gathering, how much had changed within me. "Family means everything," my husband said during his toast, his voice steady and sincere. "We stick together through thick and thin." His words struck me like a dagger. Loyalty echoed around the room while betrayal simmered beneath the surface of my thoughts. Did he know? Did he suspect anything? A quick glance at my grandfather revealed a knowing look that sent shivers down my spine. "Cheers!" Everyone chimed in unison as we sipped our drinks. But as the wine slid down my throat, it felt more like poison than comfort. After dinner concluded, people began to disperse into different rooms for games or conversations that didn't involve me. My husband wandered off to help clean up while I found myself gravitating toward the porch where cool evening air greeted me like an old friend. I leaned against the railing, watching fireflies dance in the darkening sky when footsteps approached behind me. My grandfather joined me outside. "You seem lost tonight," he remarked gently. "Just thinking," I replied evasively. He leaned against the railing beside me, his presence both comforting and unsettling all at once. "Thinking can lead you down paths you might not want to tread." The weight of his words hung heavily between us. "I don't know what to do anymore," I confessed quietly. "You must decide what matters most," he said softly yet firmly. "Your happiness isn't something to be taken lightly." A flicker of understanding passed between us. This conversation felt different from our previous exchanges filled with nostalgia or longing. It was raw and honest. "I don't want to hurt anyone," I whispered. "And yet here we are," he replied gently but pointedly. His gaze bore into mine as if searching for answers buried deep within me, answers even I wasn't sure existed anymore. The tension crackled around us like static electricity. It felt both thrilling and terrifying all at once. Suddenly, voices erupted from inside. The sounds of laughter mixed with playful banter drew our attention back toward where everyone else gathered inside. "We should join them," he suggested lightly but hesitated before adding more seriously. "But remember why you're here tonight." I nodded slowly. His words resonated deeply within me, a reminder that choices have consequences far beyond personal desires or fleeting moments of connection. As we re-entered the house together, an unexpected chill swept through me as if someone had walked over my grave. Perhaps it was merely paranoia creeping in again or something deeper lurking beneath this facade we maintained so carefully for everyone else's sake. My husband caught sight of us just then, his face lighting up momentarily before shadowing over with confusion as he took note of our proximity, standing side by side near each other, uncomfortably close amid family chaos surrounding us all around. The unease palpable even amongst laughter echoing throughout these walls once filled only with warmth, now feeling colder than ever before. "What were you two talking about?" he asked casually enough, but there was an edge to his tone. A hint of suspicion lurking just beneath surface cheerfulness, masking concern tightly woven into every syllable spoken aloud, cutting through air thickened by tension lingering between 3 generations present here tonight. "Just reminiscing," my grandfather interjected smoothly while placing a reassuring hand on my shoulder, a gesture meant perhaps more than mere comfort, offered up freely without thought given context surrounding its implications. My heart raced. How long could we keep this charade going? Dinner wrapped up eventually. People began drifting away toward their own homes, leaving behind remnants scattered across tables, filled plates, half-eaten, untouched glasses left behind too soon. But as night deepened outside, darkness enveloping everything around us, my mind raced back again toward impending decisions looming ahead, casting shadows longer than any night would dare allow. In those moments spent reflecting on choices made thus far, I couldn't shake feeling something monumental lay ahead, waiting just outside beyond horizon, beckoning forth either resolution or ruin depending upon paths chosen next. Then came that fateful moment when our eyes met across crowded room-filled chatter, laughter fading away into background noise, blending seamlessly into silence hanging thickly between breaths shared unnoticed until then. The world around vanished, leaving only space where truth lingered, waiting patiently for acknowledgement finally demanded. And so it happened without warning. A chance encounter occurred, suddenly thrusting reality crashing down upon fragile illusions built carefully over years past, leading directly toward potential fallout, unforeseen yet inevitable, now drawing closer, every heartbeat pounding rhythmically against chest, urging choice made swiftly before dawn broke, revealing hidden truths laid bare. The weight of our shared silence hung heavily in the air, a tangible thing that both bound us and threatened to suffocate. My grandfather's gaze held a mixture of understanding and concern, as if he could see the turmoil swirling within me. We sat at the small table in the corner of the craft brewery, surrounded by the low hum of conversation and the clinking of glasses, yet feeling impossibly isolated in our own world. "What do you want from all this?" he finally asked, breaking the spell that had wrapped around us. His question pierced through my thoughts like a sharp knife. I had been avoiding it, skirting around the edges of my own desires while clinging to this secret that had become both a refuge and a prison. "I don't know," I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. I feel lost." "Lost," he echoed softly, his eyes searching mine for answers that were not there. "You're not alone in this." The sincerity in his tone ignited something deep inside me, a flicker of hope mixed with dread. I glanced around the room, noting couples laughing together, friends sharing stories over pints. Their joy felt foreign to me now, a reminder of what I had once known but could no longer grasp. "I can't keep pretending," I said suddenly, feeling an urgency swell within me. "My husband doesn't see me anymore. He's so consumed by work that I've become invisible." He leaned closer, his expression softening as he reached across the table to take my hand. "What about us? What does this mean for you?" The warmth of his touch sent a shiver down my spine, igniting memories of our shared past, times when laughter came easily and love felt uncomplicated. But now, those memories were tangled with guilt and confusion. "I don't know if this is right," I confessed. A shadow crossed his face at my words. "You mean, if we're right?" "I mean everything," I replied quickly. "This affair, it's wrong on so many levels. But it feels good to be seen again." The admission hung between us like an uninvited guest. A moment passed where we simply stared at each other, two people caught between longing and reality, when suddenly a familiar voice broke through our bubble. "Hey! There you are." It was Sarah, an old friend from college who had just walked into the brewery with her husband in tow. Panic surged through me as I quickly pulled my hand away from his grasp and forced a smile onto my face. "Sarah! What a surprise! Isn't it? We were just talking about how long it's been since we all got together." She beamed at us both, but her gaze lingered on my grandfather with an intensity that made me uneasy. "Yeah, it has been too long," he replied smoothly while subtly withdrawing into himself, the jovial man I knew slipping behind walls that had been built over years. As they exchanged pleasantries about life and family updates, I felt like an outsider looking in on their conversation, a ghost haunting my own life. My mind raced with thoughts about what Sarah might suspect or see beyond the surface. Her keen eyes always seemed to notice things others overlooked. "Are you two having fun?" she asked innocently enough, but there was something probing in her tone that sent another wave of anxiety crashing over me. "Just catching up," I said quickly, forcing cheerfulness into my voice as if it could mask everything else lurking beneath our smiles. She nodded knowingly before turning back to her husband, who had just joined us at the table with two fresh beers in hand, one for Sarah and one for himself. The moment felt surreal as laughter erupted around us like fireworks against night skies, yet here we were trapped in our own private storm. As they chatted animatedly about upcoming festivals and local happenings, I caught glimpses of my grandfather's face, his expression shifting from warmth to discomfort as he navigated this unexpected intrusion into our fragile moment together. Then came another twist. Sarah casually mentioned seeing my husband earlier at the market while shopping for groceries, a comment made without any hint of malice but one that struck me nonetheless like a thunderbolt. "Oh really? He didn't mention going out today," I managed to say nonchalantly, even though inside turmoil churned violently at this revelation. My husband venturing out without me while I sat here entangled in secrets with someone else entirely. The laughter continued around me, but its sound faded into background noise once more as dread seeped deeper into every crevice of my heart. The thought of him wandering through town unaware of what lay hidden behind these walls felt unbearable now more than ever before. I glanced sideways toward my grandfather, who seemed lost in thought too, perhaps contemplating his own choices or wondering how far we'd drifted from where we began, two souls seeking solace yet finding only chaos instead. Just then another couple walked by outside, their reflections caught perfectly against glass storefronts lining bustling streets filled with life, vibrant colors dancing across surfaces shimmering under bright lights, illuminating moments lived fully without hesitation or regret, a stark contrast to what lingered between us now. Uncertainty clouding every decision made thus far, leading toward inevitable consequences waiting patiently on horizon ahead. "We should get going soon," he murmured quietly, breaking through haze enveloping thoughts swirling chaotically inside, head filled only with questions unanswered, still echoing loudly against walls built high around heart, yearning desperately for clarity amidst confusion reigning supreme within, soul torn apart by choices made recklessly without foresight into future unknown looming ominously ahead. But before any plans could solidify further, another twist emerged unexpectedly. A fleeting glance exchanged between Sarah and her husband, who stood nearby watching intently as if sensing tension brewing beneath surface. Their curiosity peaking sharply, causing heart rate quicken, suddenly pounding rhythmically against chest, urging escape, pursued relentlessly now before things spiraled out control completely, leaving nothing intact behind except shards, broken dreams scattered carelessly. A long path, chosen unwittingly, leading straight toward cliff edge where truth awaited impatiently, ready to unveil itself, fully revealing consequences never anticipated nor prepared adequately confront head-on. In that moment clarity struck like lightning, illuminating dark corners, obscured previously hidden truths finally surfacing, demanding attention drawn forth unwillingly, dragging along burdens carried silently too long. Reflection beckoning insistently, urging decision made swiftly before dawn broke, revealing all laid bare, exposed, raw, vulnerable, aching, desperately seeking resolution found only through honesty, embraced openly regardless cost incurred. The glass storefront reflected more than just our figures, it mirrored the tangled web of choices binding us. My grandfather stood beside me, a mix of warmth and unease swirling in the air. The vibrant colors of the Asheville Arts District blurred into insignificance as I stared at our reflections. We looked like a couple caught in a moment of intimacy, unaware of the world around us. But reality crashed down hard, shattering any illusions we had crafted. "Are you sure about this?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. I nodded, though uncertainty gnawed at my insides. The thrill of secrecy had become intoxicating, yet the weight of it felt heavier with each passing day. My husband remained oblivious to my internal turmoil, lost in his own world, work, projects, and the mundane rhythm of life that left me feeling hollow. Then, as if summoned by fate itself, I caught sight of my husband approaching from the corner of my eye. He walked with purpose, his gaze fixed ahead, unaware of what lay before him. Panic surged through me, my heart raced as I pulled back from my grandfather's side instinctively. "Stay close," I murmured urgently. But it was too late. My husband's eyes flicked toward us just as we turned to leave the shop. The shock on his face was unmistakable, a mixture of confusion and dawning realization. Time slowed as he processed what he saw, two figures entwined in a moment that should not exist. "What is going on here?" His voice cut through the air like a knife. The words hung heavy between us, each syllable laden with accusation and disbelief. My grandfather shifted slightly away from me as if trying to distance himself from the storm brewing around us. I felt exposed and raw under my husband's gaze, a deer caught in headlights. "It's not what it looks like," I stammered, desperation creeping into my tone. "Then what is it?" He crossed his arms defensively, demanding answers I wasn't prepared to give. My grandfather looked between us, uncertainty etched on his features. "We were just..." "No," I interrupted sharply, panic rising within me. "This isn't how it should be." My husband's expression hardened as he absorbed the weight of my words and their implications. "Then tell me how it is supposed to be." In that moment, clarity pierced through the chaos swirling around us. I understood that everything had led to this confrontation, the choices made in secret now laid bare for all to see. "I can't keep living this lie," I confessed, each word feeling like a confession rather than an explanation. His brows furrowed deeper with every syllable spoken until silence enveloped us once more, a silence so thick it felt suffocating. My grandfather took a small step back. Perhaps he sensed that this was not a battle for him to join but rather one for me alone to fight. "What do you mean by lie?" My husband's voice was low but steady, filled with an intensity that demanded truth. "I've been searching for something, someone who understands me." The admission slipped out before I could hold it back, a truth that had been festering beneath layers of denial for too long. "So you found him?" The bitterness in his tone cut sharply through the air between us. I glanced at my grandfather. His presence was both comforting and terrifying all at once, but ultimately irrelevant now that we were facing this reckoning together. "I didn't seek this out," I said softly. "It just happened." "Happened?" He echoed incredulously, disbelief coloring his voice as he took a step closer to me. "You think you can justify this?" My heart sank further into despair as guilt washed over me like cold water splashing against skin unprepared for its chill. "I never wanted to hurt you," I whispered, feeling tears prick at the corners of my eyes despite myself. "And yet here we are." His words dripped with disappointment. Each syllable felt like nails driven into an already fragile structure threatening collapse under pressure. The scene played out like a tragic play. Emotions roared behind our carefully constructed facades while passers-by continued their lives unaware of our turmoil unfolding mere feet away from them, an audience witnessing an intimate tragedy without context or understanding. "What do you want from me now?" he demanded suddenly, frustration evident in every line etched across his face. "I don't know." The admission burst forth unbidden, the truth crashing down around us like waves battering against rocks worn smooth over time. In that moment of vulnerability shared between three souls entangled by circumstance and choice came another twist. My grandfather stepped forward hesitantly yet resolutely taking charge where uncertainty reigned supreme moments before. "We need to talk about this, all three of us." "No." I protested instinctively but faltered when faced with both men's gazes focused solely upon me, their expectations weighing heavily upon shoulders already burdened beyond capacity capable bearing any more strain without breaking completely apart under pressure applied relentlessly until cracks formed deep within foundations built upon trust shattered. Irrevocably now exposed raw vulnerable aching desperately seeking resolution found only through honesty embraced openly regardless cost incurred. But even as those words left my lips another thought surfaced. What if honesty only led further down paths obscured by shadows? What if revealing truths meant losing everything? And then came another twist. The realization that perhaps honesty wasn't merely about disclosure but also acceptance facing consequences head-on no matter how daunting they appeared looming large over horizon waiting patiently ready unveiled themselves fully revealing consequences never anticipated nor prepared adequately confront head-on. As silence enveloped us once more pregnant with anticipation heavy-laden stillness where breaths hung suspended mid-air waiting expectantly for next move made.